This is Dr. Lori, and I have been thinking about doing a little video about this topic for a while. And what stopped me is the potential fallout from it. But I was talking to a friend the other day. She was like, you need to talk about it. So, two things. One of the things that I've been very interested in is how there is what we would call a culture of poverty of pleasure, is what we're calling it. And what that means is that fewer and fewer people are experiencing pleasure in their lives, especially women. And this pleasure can be related to sex, but it can be related to a whole host of things. Eating, shopping, reading a good book, experiencing joy, just in general, pleasure, especially when it comes to sex. I talk to people every day about their sex lives, primarily in the context of fertility. And one of the things I've noticed is that people often do not have sex anymore. They're not having sex to have children. I just read an article a couple of days ago that talked about the fact that many countries are not going to be able to replace their populations. For example, Japan is an elderly population, and the women are not having babies. But all over women, not only women, but couples are not having children all over the world. And in some places, particularly places like Japan and even eventually in the United States, we will be below replacement levels. So some people are encouraging pronatalism, meaning women should have babies, but one of the things is it's very expensive to have children. For example, in the United States, you can encourage people to do that, but there's nothing to support families or women. So why would people do that? The other thing is, I just read an article today that said that Gen Z, they're not having sex as much. Some people are applauding this, saying that it's better because has to do more with religion than anything else. And the conservatives are saying it's good. And one of the things is, sex obviously does bring children into the world. Sex can be associated with sexually transmitted diseases and HIV, but sex can also be associated with pleasure too. And our society is so anti-pleasure, especially for women. If you have sex for pleasure, you're considered a slut, right? But I think that is wrong. I mean, women have a particular organ that the only reason it exists is for pleasure. Now, there are some societies that actually remove that organ. What I'm talking about is I don't know, am I allowed to say it on TikTok? Clitoris. It is only there for pleasure. I think more women should have pleasure. And that doesn't mean having sex with a man. It could mean having sex with a woman. It could mean having sex with yourself. And the reason I think that is because it's good for you. It releases all kinds of chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. And obviously, if you are going to have sex with people, then you need to protect yourself and you need to have safe sex. But I think a lot of people are miserable because they're not having sex. And I also think that I relish education, obviously. I'm highly educated. I'm a doctor. I have a certificate in film. I've worked on a master in fine arts and creative writing. I've done coaching certifications, etc. But I think sometimes people continue to get degrees to validate themselves, also to distract themselves from the lack of pleasure in their lives. Just think about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with sex. I think there's a lot of things right with it. And I think that people would be happier if they're having sex. People would have more children if they were having sex because they're relying on technology. Like I said, I'm not saying it has to be with a man, it has to be heterosexual sex. It could be just self-pleasure. But I think so many people are just miserable because they don't allow themselves to experience pleasure. Pleasure can also be wearing a beautiful wearing good smelling perfume, the clothing that you put on, the clothing that you don't put on, how you carry yourself, going to a play, reading poetry. And we are just in a society that just wants us to suffer. And I don't think there's anything wrong with mature women deciding that they want to have sex and they want to date. I mean, there's dating for marriage, and then there's dating for companionship. There's dating for sex, for pleasure. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As long as you take care of yourself and are careful, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's a book I read a few years ago called Sex Outside the Lines, and it just kind of really turned my ideas about sexuality and pleasure on its head. But I just think that people are just really unhappy. They don't have to be. I think if they had more sex, they would be happier. That's just my opinion. And if you are a woman over 40, you want to learn how to date and how to become adventurous, how to feel good about yourself, how to feel good about your body, how to understand how your body works, hit me up. I can help you with that. That's just my 2 cents. This is Dr. Lori.